The worst example, however, of incivility over the weekend was none of these. It was Maxine Waters. So Maxine Waters is just awful. Maxine Waters is indeed a moron. She's been a moron for 30 years, at least as long as I've been following her in American politics. I'm only 34 years old, and I remember when I was very young, 1992, LA riots. I was 8 years old, and Maxine Waters was out there calling it the LA uprising and talking about how necessary it was. It did $1 billion in property damage and ended with people dead. And she was talking about how wonderful it was. She's been just the worst kind of politician in an American public life for decades now. Well, she went out there and she was at the federal building over on Wilshire Boulevard, and she was doing some event, and she started screaming and yelling about why it is that we should now harass people in their homes. We should shut people down. Kirstjen Nielsen, by the way, protesters showed up outside her home, the Department of Homeland Security secretary. They showed up outside her home. They were protesting. The same thing has happened to Chuck Schumer on immigration, right? Democrats, it's happening to too. But Maxine Waters loves this stuff, and so she's going to push tactics that are, by any historical metric, far closer to brown shirt Nazi tactics than anything the Trump administration has done at the border. Here's Maxine Waters.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Okay, I mean, that's an insane statement. What she is talking about there is essentially a fascist jackboot tactic. Okay, I'm going to read you a section from a great 3-volume history of Nazi Germany. Now, again, I'm not saying that she is a Nazi. I'm saying this is a Nazi tactic. Okay, it is a Nazi tactic to say that you're going to get a bunch of people together and you are going to go harass public officials when they stop at a gas station. Okay, that I'm not saying she's a Nazi. Again, I'm not saying her policies are Nazi policies. I'm saying this is a brown shirt tactic because it is a far closer tactic to brown shirtism than anything that Trump has done at the southern border, including arresting people and then by dint of Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling separating kids from parents. I'm going to explain in a second why I am not being shy about using a Nazi analogy here, because I think that Nazi analogies are appropriate when you can actually make the historical reference point. So when Maxine Waters says that people should get out at gas stations and they should shout, "No peace, no sleep, no peace, no sleep." And when she says that in a department store, at a gas station, you get out and you create a crowd and you push back on them and you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere, you tell people they're not welcome in public life, that is, in fact, a fascist tactic. Okay, that tactic is, again, I'm going to say it for the 30th time. I'm not saying that Maxine Waters is a Nazi. I am saying that this is a Nazi tactic. Okay, this is a fascist tactic. There are people who argue that fascism is only the government that's coming in and using, force to compel you to obey the government. That's the only definition of fascism. What I'm talking about here is a philosophically, culturally fascist tactic, and that is destroying the social fabric in the name of politics by destroying every public space and using violent means to shut them down, right? Antifa shutting down speeches. That's a fascist tactic. And this is a fascist tactic too. This is a section from Richard Evans's book, The Coming of the Third Reich, considering the treatment of Social Democrat Reichstag Deputy Otto Buckwitz in Silesia. Here's what it says. Brown shirts, this is in 1931, before the Nazis took power. So for those who say that Nazism you can only say Nazi when somebody's in power in the government, that's just not true. The Nazis existed before they were in power in the government. Here's what it says. Brown shirts occupied the seats at his meetings, shouted insults at him, and on one occasion fired a shot at him, causing mass panic amongst his listeners and leading to a brawl in which more shots were fired by both stormtroopers and Reichsbannermen. Several Nazis and Social Democrats had to be taken to the hospital, and not a single table or chair in the hall was left intact. Here we go. This is the part that's interesting. After this, gangs of 8 to 10 Nazi stormtroopers harassed Buckwitz outside his house when he left for work in the morning. 20 or more crowded around him when he came back to his office after lunch. And between 1 and 200 hassled him on his way home, singing a specially composed song with the words, "When the revolvers are shot, Buckwitz will cop the lot." Nazi demonstrators always halted outside his house, chanting "Death to Buckwitz." Okay, so harassing people outside their homes, bullying them from gas stations, bullying them from restaurants, these public confrontations over politics, these are a serious and dangerous business. So here is the basic rule for a civilized society. You have the right to refuse service to anyone you choose. Yes, that applies to Red Hen. You have the right to criticize that restaurant. You have the right to protest any public official in a public setting. You do not have the right to invade someone else's property, to harass someone dining in a public place, or to harass people at their homes, as with Kirstjen Nielsen. Waters' approach is way worse than what happened at the Red Hen. Now, what Waters did is way worse than what happened to Sarah Huckabee Sanders at the Red Hen. And every Democrat should be asked on the record today, what Maxine Waters said about what Maxine Waters said. They should be asked whether they agree with Maxine Waters' tactics here, whether they think that that is something that is half decent. Because I promise you, if this were a Republican, they'd be asked every single time, right? When President Trump said that at his rallies, that he said at one of his rallies, that if somebody punched a protester, that he'd pay for their legal defense bill, every Republican in the country got asked about it. And that was wrong. Trump shouldn't have said that. Will any Democrat be asked today about Maxine Waters' comments? If not, it just demonstrates once again why you can't trust.
Greetings, citizens of the world. Charges have been filed against Democrat Maxine Waters after a video of her assaulting a journalist went viral on social media. An assault complaint has been made by the victim, journalist Laura Loomer, who claims Waters physically assaulted her 3 times. Loomer claims the incident took place when she asked Mrs. Waters for comment regarding last weekend's rally in which the Congresswoman called for violent riots and the use of violence against Republicans. The alleged assault was caught on video, which Loomer says she has shown to police as evidence of the crime. Loomer posted a report on BLP in which she stated that she had filed assault charges, saying, "Today I filed a police report in Washington, D.C., to press charges against Congresswoman Maxine Waters for assaulting me. When I confronted her regarding her call for targeted harassment of Trump administration officials, Ms. Waters assaulted me 3 times. She hit my hand to try to knock my phone out of my hand, and then she hit me in the face with her papers twice. Inciting violent riots. Rep. Maxine Waters is also facing a possible 5-year prison sentence for inciting violent riots against Republicans and their supporters. According to authorities, during a rally on Saturday, Maxine told supporters they should use physical violence against Republicans. "If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet. Already, you have members of your cabinet that are being booed out of restaurants, who have protesters taking up at their house, who say, 'No peace, no sleep. No peace, no sleep.' God is on our side. On the side of the children. On the side of what's right. On the side of what's honorable. And so, let's stay the course. Let's make sure we show up wherever we have to show up, and if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd and you push back on them, and you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere." Yesterday, when I confronted her on Capitol Hill, she assaulted me. She hit my hand, then she swatted me in the face twice with her papers. I'm pressing charges against her. Democratic leaders have yet to denounce Maxine's call to violence. But Maxine may be in serious trouble. It is against the law to incite a riot of 10 or more people. And clearly, Maxine did just that this weekend. Here is the U.S. Code 2101 on riots. A. Whoever travels in interstate or foreign commerce or uses any facility of interstate or foreign commerce, including, but not limited to, the mail, telegraph, telephone, radio, or television, with intent, 1. To incite a riot, or 2. To organize, promote, encourage, participate in, or carry on a riot, or 3. To commit any act of violence in furtherance of a riot, or 4. To aid or abet any person in inciting or participating in or carrying on a riot or committing any act of violence in furtherance of a riot, and who either during the course of any such travel or use or thereafter performs or attempts to perform any other overt act for any purpose specified in subparagraph A, B, C, or D, of this paragraph, 1, shall be fined under this title, or imprisoned not more than 5 years, or both.